Chosen one, are you ready to lose everything God's been building in secret? Do you feel that weight in your chest right now, that knowing, that sense that time is collapsing around something you can't yet name? What if I told you that November 16th and 17th are not just dates on a calendar, but a spiritual threshold where one wrong move will shatter 6 months of divine preparation? Chosen one, stop scrolling. Your spirit already knows. That's why you're here. That restlessness you've been feeling, that's not anxiety. That's the Holy Spirit sounding the alarm inside your bones. Picture this: the heavens above New York, above every city in America, dimming not with clouds, not with eclipse, but with spiritual pressure. The kind of atmospheric shift that happened before Exodus, before the flood, before every moment God separated the faithful from the distracted. And right now, in this exact second, invisible forces are watching to see what you will do on November 16th and 17th. Here's the truth they don't want you to hear. One mistake, one, can undo everything. That promotion God whispered about, gone. That healing He's been threading through your body at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep, delayed. That financial breakthrough you've been fasting for, redirected to someone else who stayed alert. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here because God sent this message to the ones He's marked. And if you're watching this, you're marked. Before we go 1 inch deeper, and I mean this, type "I'm listening, Lord" in the comments right now. This is not content. This is not entertainment. This is a warning wrapped in love, sent to protect what's coming for you. And listen, thank you. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead. Now here's what most won't tell you. There is something specific you must not do on the 16th and 17th, and 90% of believers will fall into it without even realizing. It'll feel right. It'll feel harmless. It'll even feel spiritual, but it will cost you everything God's been preparing in the invisible. Stay with me. What I'm about to reveal could be the most important 60 minutes of your life. The clock is already ticking. Why does it feel like the closer you get to your breakthrough, the heavier the air becomes? Why do the people you love most suddenly become strangers right before God moves? And why, tell me, why does spiritual warfare always intensify in the 48 hours before deliverance? Because the enemy knows something you're just beginning to remember. You were chosen before the foundation of the world. Listen carefully. November 16th and 17th are not random dates circled on your kitchen calendar. These 2 days exist inside what I call a spiritual pressure zone, a narrow window where the veil between the seen and unseen grows dangerously thin. Confusion doesn't just visit during these hours, it moves in. Emotional sensitivity doesn't just increase, it becomes a weapon. And arguments? They don't need a reason anymore. They multiply like shadows at dusk. Old wounds you thought were healed. They reopen as if touched by invisible fingers. That pain from 1987, when your daughter said those words, it's back. That betrayal from your brother over the inheritance, it whispers again. The loneliness you've been managing since your spouse passed. On November 16th and 17th, it will try to swallow you whole. You need to understand what's happening in the atmosphere. Do you remember the Virgo eclipse we talked about in September? That celestial event that magnified everything small into something catastrophic. These 2 days carry the same spiritual DNA. Tiny words become weapons. Small reactions become open doors. A sigh becomes an accusation. A glance becomes a betrayal. The enemy doesn't need you to commit murder, he just needs you to roll your eyes at the wrong moment, to send that text when your spirit said wait, to speak when God said be still. Think of November 16th and 17th like walking across a frozen lake in Central Park at 4 a.m. You don't fall through because you took one giant leap. You fall because of the hairline cracks you didn't notice. The ice looked solid. It felt stable. But beneath the surface, pressure had been building. One more step. One more word. One more reaction. And suddenly, you're submerged in water so cold it steals your breath. That's what's waiting for the unprepared. Now, I need to speak directly to something most pastors won't touch. Some of you watching this right now feel forgotten. Your children moved to California, to Texas, to Florida they call on holidays if you're lucky. Your friends from church, they stopped inviting you when you couldn't drive anymore. You sit in that apartment in Queens, in that house in Brooklyn, and the silence is so loud it feels like punishment. But let me tell you what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Warfare increases strongest around those God is about to lift. You think you're forgotten. You're not forgotten. You're hidden. There's a difference. Psalm 31:20 says, "You hide them in the secret place of your presence." God doesn't hide trash. He hides treasure. And right now, while you feel invisible to people, you are blazingly visible to heaven. Angels have been dispatched. Prayers you prayed 40 years ago are cashing in. Seeds you planted in tears are about to come up as forests. But the enemy knows this too. That's why he's turning up the heat on November 16th and 17th. He's not attacking random people. He's targeting the ones carrying imminent breakthrough. He's going after the chosen ones who are 72 hours away from a divine unlock. And his strategy is always the same. Make you disqualify yourself. Look at what happened to Moses. 40 years of preparation, 40 years of waiting. God finally brings him to the edge of the promised land, and in one moment of uncontrolled anger, when he struck the rock instead of speaking to it in Numbers 20:11, he lost his entrance. Not because God stopped loving him, but because one small disobedience in a moment of pressure cost him the culmination of his calling. Do you hear what I'm saying? Moses didn't murder anyone that day. He didn't commit adultery. He didn't worship a golden calf. He just let frustration override obedience for 60 seconds, and it changed everything. That's the level of precision required in these next 2 days. Because when God is about to release something massive into your life, when he's about to vindicate you in front of everyone who doubted you, when he's about to open the door you've been knocking on since 1992, the enemy sends one final test. And it always looks small. It always feels justified. It always whispers, you have the right to be angry. You have the right to defend yourself. You have the right to speak your mind. But rights and righteousness are not the same thing. James 1:20 cuts through the noise. For the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Your anger, no matter how valid, will not build what God is trying to birth. Your need to be right will not open what God is trying to unlock. Your justified reaction will not protect what God is trying to preserve. Some of you are feeling this right now in your chest, that tightness, that heat rising, because you already know who's going to test you on November 16th. You can see their face. You can hear their voice. It's the family member who always pushes your buttons, the neighbor who disrespects your boundaries, the bill collector who calls at dinner time, the adult child who only reaches out when they need money. And here's the warfare. They will be used, not because they're evil, but because the enemy is strategic. He uses familiar voices to deliver fatal blows. So what do? How do you survive when thin ice is everywhere and every step feels like a trap? That's exactly what we're about to uncover. But first, you need to make a decision right now. Type "I will not fall" in the comments. Not for me, for you. Because what you declare with your mouth begins to shift things in the spirit. The next 48 hours will determine whether you walk into December carrying your blessing or your regret. And I'm about to show you exactly how to make sure it's the blessing. Now listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you will shake everything you thought you knew about spiritual warfare. What destroys blessings on November 16th and 17th is not a disaster. It's not some catastrophic sin. It's not failure. It's not even the devil showing up with horns and pitchforks. It's something so ordinary, so familiar, so woven into your daily routine that you won't even see it coming until it's already stolen what God placed in your hands. And here's what breaks my heart. The enemy uses this specific trap against seniors more than any other group. Why? Because you've lived long enough to develop patterns, routines, comfortable rhythms, and the adversary knows exactly how to hide poison inside something that feels like bread. If your spirit senses something already, if there's a trembling in your chest right now, type, "I can feel it" in the comments. Let me know you're tracking with me, because what I'm describing isn't theoretical. It's happening right now in living rooms across America, in New York apartments, in Philadelphia row homes, in quiet houses in Ohio where faithful people are about to make one move, just one that will lock the door God was opening. You want to know what terrifies the kingdom of darkness? It's not your prayers. They expect those. It's not your church attendance. They've calculated that. What terrifies them is when a chosen one recognizes the setup before they fall into it. And November 16th and 17th? Those dates are a setup. Let me take you to scripture for a moment, and I need you to hear this with fresh ears. Proverbs 14:12 says, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." Read that again. Seems right. Not obviously wrong, not clearly sinful. It seems right. That word "seems" is where most believers lose everything. You ever notice how the greatest spiritual defeats in the Bible never came from obvious evil? Adam and Eve didn't eat poison, they ate fruit that looked good. Esau didn't sell his birthright for garbage, he sold it for a bowl of stew that smelled delicious. Samson didn't fall into a pit, he fell asleep on the lap of someone he trusted. The pattern is always the same. Comfort disguised as wisdom. And on November 16th and 17th, you're going to be tempted towards something that feels completely justified. Something that seems like common sense. Something that other people, good people, church people are doing without a second thought. But you are not other people. You are marked. You are set apart. And that means the standard is different. The stakes are higher. The enemy's strategy against you is more sophisticated. Here's what I know about you, chosen one. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That sense that something is coming. That weight in the atmosphere. You've been waking up at odd hours. You've been seeing numbers repeat. You've been having dreams that feel more real than your waking life. That's not coincidence. That's God preparing you for acceleration, for elevation, for the breakthrough that's been delayed for years. But here's the warfare. The closer you get to your manifestation, the subtler the attacks become. The devil doesn't show up on the 16th and 17th with a pitchfork. He shows up with a phone call, with an invitation, with advice from someone you trust, with something that sounds so reasonable, so logical, so harmless, that you'll do it without even praying first. And that's the trap. Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge," not lack of faith, not lack of prayer. Lack of knowledge. You can be sincere and still be sincerely wrong. You can be prayerful and still miss the warning signs. You can love God with all your heart and still walk right past the open door because you were distracted by something that seemed more urgent. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in your spirit. How many times in your life have you looked back and said, "I wish someone had warned me"? How many times have you replayed a moment and realized, if you had just paused for 5 more minutes, if you had just waited 1 more day, if you had just sought counsel before acting, everything would be different? That's what this message is. This is your warning. This is your pause button. This is God's mercy reaching through the screen to grab you by the shoulders and say, "Not this time. Not on the 16th, not on the 17th. This time you're going to see it coming." Because here's the truth they don't preach in most churches. Timing is a weapon. The enemy doesn't just attack your faith. He attacks your timing. He gets you to do the right thing at the wrong time, or the wrong thing at the right time, or to hesitate when you should move, or to move when you should wait. And November 16th and 17th are a timing trap specifically designed for the chosen ones who are about to walk into their next level. You've been in preparation. God's been working behind the scenes. Doors have been unlocking in the spirit that you can't see yet with natural eyes. Relationships are being rearranged. Finances are being redirected. Health is being restored at the cellular level. But if you make this one mistake, if you fall for this one familiar trap, it's not that God will abandon you. It's that you'll delay your own breakthrough. You'll add another 6 months to a process that was supposed to end in December. You'll push your harvest into next year when it was supposed to manifest next month. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of delay. I'm tired of watching the enemy steal time from God's people because they didn't recognize the setup. So let me ask you directly, are you willing to risk your breakthrough for something that feels comfortable? Are you willing to trade your next season for something that seems harmless? Because that's the choice coming on November 16th and 17th. And most people won't even realize they're making it. Let me tell you something nobody else will say out loud. You've been feeling it for weeks now, haven't you? That heaviness. That sense that the people closest to you, the ones who should see you, honor you, respect the decades you've poured into them, are suddenly distant, cold, dismissive. Your daughter snapped at you last Tuesday over something small. Your son hasn't returned your call in 8 days. Your spouse walks past you like you're furniture. The caregiver, who comes 3 times a week, she's scrolling through her phone while you're trying to tell her about the pain in your hip. And the worst part? You start to wonder if maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're too sensitive, too needy, too much. Stop right there. That thought, that whisper that you're invisible, that you don't matter anymore, that your season is over, that's not from God. That's the setup. Because here's what the enemy knows that most preachers won't tell you. Seniors are the most spiritually dangerous people on the planet. You've got decades of prayer under your belt. You've survived wars, real ones and spiritual ones. You've buried loved ones and still kept believing. You know how to intercede. You know how to bind and loose. You've got authority that 2 5-year-olds on Instagram can't even comprehend. And that terrifies the kingdom of darkness. So what does the enemy do? He doesn't come at you with obvious attacks. He's smarter than that. He comes through the people you love, through disrespect, through isolation, through making you feel like your voice doesn't carry weight anymore. Proverbs 16:31 says, "Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." But look around. Does this culture treat your gray hair like a crown? Or do they treat it like you're expired? November 16th and 17th, these 2 days are specifically designed to target your emotional vulnerability. And I need you to hear this clearly. The attack has already started. It didn't begin on the 16th. It began weeks ago, softening you up, making you question your value, your discernment, your place in God's plan. Think about it. It's like walking through a long hallway in an old Brooklyn brownstone at twilight. Every door is cracked open just an inch. You can't see what's inside, but shadows move. And from each crack, you hear whispers, familiar voices. Your mother's voice telling you you're not enough. Your father's voice saying you never got it right. Your ex-spouse's voice reminding you of every failure. The doors don't swing wide open. They don't have to. The cracks are enough. That's how spiritual warfare works in your season of life. It's subtle. It's quiet. It slips in through the moments when you're already tired, already lonely, already wondering if anyone still sees you. But God sees you, and He's not done with you. In fact, what He's been building in the invisible realm for the last 6 months is so massive, so unprecedented, that hell had to call an emergency meeting. Because if you make it past November 16th and 17th without falling into the trap, you're about to step into a dimension of blessing that will shock everyone who wrote you off. Now listen carefully. The attack will not come as a storm. It won't announce itself. It will come as a subtle invitation. Someone will call you. They'll need something. They'll pull on your emotions. They'll guilt you. They'll manipulate your kindness. Or maybe it'll be quieter, a thought that says, just skip your prayer time today, you're too tired. God understands. And in that moment, if you say yes to the wrong voice, you'll miss the download. Let me say that again. You'll miss the download, the instruction, the strategy, the divine alignment that God scheduled specifically for November 16th and 17th. Because those aren't random dates. They're marked on heaven's calendar. They're portal days. Days when the veil is thinner and God is releasing specific assignments to specific people. But here's the catch. You have to be in position. You have to be undistracted. You have to be emotionally and spiritually sober. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. It began weeks ago, softening you up, making you question your value, your discernment, your place in God's plan. Think about it. It's like walking through a long hallway in an old Brooklyn brownstone at twilight. Every door is cracked open just an inch. You can't see what's inside, but shadows move. And from each crack, you hear whispers, familiar voices. Your mother's voice telling you you're not enough. Your father's voice saying you never got it right. And if the enemy can convince you that nobody's watching, you'll stop doing the very things that shift atmospheres. But you are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not past your prime. You are a threat. And these 2 days, November 16th and 17th, are the enemy's last-ditch effort to take you out before the glory hits. So here's my question for you, and I want you to answer this in your spirit right now. Are you going to let a moment of emotional weakness cost you a lifetime of divine preparation? Now we arrive at the threshold, the place where most believers lose everything without even knowing they've been ambushed. Because here's what the enemy knows that you don't. The mistake that will cost you your blessing doesn't look like sin. It looks like self-defense. They'll need something. They'll pull on your emotions. They'll guilt you. They'll manipulate your kindness. Or maybe it'll be quieter, a thought that says, just skip your prayer time today. You're too tired. God understands. And in that moment, if you say yes to the wrong voice, you'll miss the download. Let me say that again. You'll miss the download, the instruction, the strategy, the divine alignment that God scheduled specifically for November 16th and 17th. I'm talking about arguments, heated words, emotional explosions, that thing you do when someone pushes your buttons and you just can't hold it in anymore. On any other day, maybe you recover. Maybe you apologize. Maybe it blows over. But not on the 16th and 17th. Because arguments on these days don't fade. They multiply. Listen to what I'm telling you. The spiritual atmosphere on November 16th and 17th is compressed. It's like the air pressure drops before a tornado touches down. Every word you speak carries 10 times its normal weight. Every syllable becomes a seed, and seeds grow whether you want them to or not. Words spoken in anger on the 16th or 17th become doorways. And once you open a door in the spirit realm, you don't get to control what walks through it. Think about the last big fight you had. Remember how it lingered, how it poisoned the next 3 conversations, how you couldn't pray the same way afterward. Now multiply that by 10. Because what you say on these days doesn't just hurt feelings, it burns ground. God's been sanctifying for your harvest. The Bible is devastatingly clear about this. Proverbs 15:1 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. That's not a suggestion. That's a spiritual law. You break it, you pay for it. And Ephesians 4:27, listen to this. Do not give the devil a foothold. 1 inch of ground. That's all he needs. 1 argument, 1 reaction. 1 moment where you chose your pride over God's plan. You think you're just defending yourself. You think you're just standing up for what's right. But here's the truth nobody's telling you. When you get pulled into conflict on November 16th or 17th, you tie yourself to the wrong spirit. And blessings cannot land on poisoned ground. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you've been praying for a financial breakthrough for 6 months. God heard you on day 1. He's been moving pieces on the chessboard, shifting economies, changing hearts, opening doors you don't even know exist yet. Everything is aligned. The money is in motion. The blessing has your name on it. Then November 16th arrives. Your daughter says something disrespectful at breakfast. Your husband makes a comment that feels like a knife in your back. Your neighbor complains about something petty, and you snap. You let it rip. You say what you've been holding in for weeks, and in the invisible realm, the door slams shut. Not because God stopped loving you, but because you broke the posture He needed you to hold. The enemy didn't have to defeat you. He just had to get you to defeat yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? The test on these days isn't about whether you're right or wrong. It's about whether you'll trust God enough to stay silent when everything in you wants to explode. Because here's what happens when you react. You shift from the frequency of faith to the frequency of flesh. And flesh cannot receive what the Spirit has prepared. James 1:20 says it plain. Human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Your anger might feel justified. It might even be righteous by human standards. But it does not produce what God is trying to birth in your life. So, let me ask you something, and I need you to answer this honestly in your heart right now. Who are you most likely to argue with? Think about that person. See their face. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The one who knows how to push every button. The one who can take you from 0 to furious in 30 seconds. That person is going to show up on November 16th or 17th. Maybe not physically. Maybe through a text, a phone call, a memory that suddenly floods your mind. And when they do, the enemy will be watching to see if you take the bait. Because if you do, if you engage, if you argue, if you let your emotions run the show, you will delay or destroy what God has been secretly preparing. That job offer, gone to someone who kept their mouth shut. That restored relationship, pushed back another year. That healing in your body, interrupted because stress opens doors to sickness. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to save you. You've come too far. You've prayed too hard. You've fasted too long. You've cried too many nights to lose it all now because you couldn't control your tongue for 48 hours. So here's what you need to burn into your spirit right now. November 16th and 17th are not days to be right. They are days to be still. Silence is not weakness on these days. Silence is warfare. Every time you swallow a response, you're cutting off the enemy's supply line. Every time you walk away instead of engaging, you're protecting sacred ground. And I promise you this. The person who provokes you will not remember the argument in a week. But the blessing you lose because of it, that could take years to come back around. Now, you might be thinking, but what if I'm being attacked? What if someone's coming at me unfairly? Then you do what Jesus did. You do what Daniel did. You do what every prophet who ever walked in true power did. You stay quiet and you let God fight. Because the moment you step into the argument, you step out of God's covering. And without His covering, you're vulnerable to everything the enemy's been waiting to throw at you. So we've identified the fatal mistake. We know the danger. But now comes the harder question. The question that will determine whether you walk into December with everything God promised, or whether you walk in empty-handed. What are you going to do differently? Let me tell you something most pastors won't say out loud. November 16th and 17th are not random. They're designed. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by spiritual architecture that's been in motion since before you woke up this morning. And here's what's going to happen. Listen closely. These 2 days will amplify every emotional trigger you've spent months trying to heal from. You're going to wake up and feel it immediately. That heaviness, that tension you can't name. You'll walk into your kitchen, pour your coffee, and something will feel off. Not wrong, just off. Like the air itself is holding its breath. Then the people around you, your spouse, your children, your co-workers, even strangers at the grocery store, they're going to act strange, tense, reactive. Short-tempered for no reason. You'll say something harmless and they'll snap. You'll offer help and they'll push back. And you'll stand there confused, thinking, what did I do? Nothing. You did nothing. But the atmosphere did everything. Proverbs 16:25 says, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." And on these 2 days, beloved, everything that seems right will lead you 1 inch away from your destiny. Old wounds you thought were healed, they're going to echo louder. That rejection from 2019, it's coming back as a whisper in your mind. That betrayal you forgave, you'll feel it again, fresh, raw, like it happened yesterday. And here's the trap. You'll think it's you. You'll think you're broken. You'll think you didn't really heal. But that's the lie. The enemy knows these dates. He's studied the atmosphere. He knows when the spiritual pressure rises, and he knows exactly when to strike the ones God is about to promote. You see, there's a pattern in Scripture. Every time God was about to elevate someone, there was a test right before the breakthrough. Joseph had the false accusation before the palace. David had Saul's spear before the throne. Esther had the threat of death before she saved a nation. And you have November 16th and 17th. The Bible says in Ephesians 6:12, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." And chosen one, on these 2 days, those principalities are active, they're moving, they're targeting, and they're hoping, praying that you'll make one mistake that costs you everything. Here's what they're counting on: that you'll react instead of respond, that you'll speak instead of stay silent, that you'll defend yourself when God is asking you to trust Him. Because when you react emotionally on these days, you're not just responding to your spouse or your boss or that person who hurt you. You're responding to a setup, a spiritual ambush designed to make you look like the problem when you were actually the target. And the cruelest part? You'll feel misunderstood, deeply, painfully misunderstood, for no reason. You'll try to explain yourself and it'll come out wrong. You'll try to fix things and they'll get worse. You'll try to love people and they'll accuse you of manipulation. It's not you, it's the atmosphere testing what's in you. God is watching to see if you've really changed, if you've really surrendered, if you've really died to the need to be right, to be seen, to be validated by people who can't even see themselves clearly right now. But there's something else happening on these 2 days, something deeper than emotional triggers, something most people will miss entirely because they're too busy defending their ego. God is separating. He's dividing the faithful from the fearful, the obedient from the offended, the ones who trust His timing from the ones who force their own. In Matthew 25, Jesus told the parable of the 10 virgins. 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. And when the bridegroom came, the door was shut to those who weren't ready, not because they were evil, not because they didn't believe, but because they weren't watching. Chosen one, these 2 days are your watching moment. The question is not whether you'll feel attacked. You will. The question is not whether people will misunderstand you. They will. The question is, will you stay steady when everything around you is shaking? Because here's the part that will wreck you if you're not careful. The enemy doesn't need you to curse God. He doesn't need you to walk away from your faith. He just needs you to react in the flesh for 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes of anger, 5 minutes of bitterness, 5 minutes of "I'm done trying." And 6 months of divine preparation gets reassigned to someone else who passed the test. You think I'm exaggerating? Look at Moses. 1 moment of striking the rock in anger instead of speaking to it, and he lost entry into the promised land after 40 years of faithful leading. 1 moment, that's how serious these 2 days are. So what are you going to do when your emotions scream at you to defend yourself? When your mind replays every injustice? When your heart begs you to prove you're right? Are you going to trust that God sees everything, that He's recording every silent moment of obedience, that your restraint is not weakness but spiritual warfare? Because I promise you this, the blessing God is building for you is so big, so specific, so perfectly timed, that the enemy had to create a trap this precise to try to stop it. And the trap is this: making you think the fight is with people when it's actually with your own need for control. What is God asking you to surrender on November 16th and 17th that you've been holding on to for years? Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you exists in a realm most preachers won't touch. They'll tell you to pray, they'll tell you to have faith, but they won't tell you why certain days carry more spiritual gravity than others. November 16th and 17th are not random. The atmosphere above you right now is thinning, not physically, spiritually. And when the veil between the natural and supernatural grows thin, everything you do carries 10 times the weight it normally would. Think about it like this. Imagine someone pressed the zoom button on your spirit. Suddenly, the tiny becomes massive. A whisper becomes a shout. A thought becomes a decree. And here's what terrifies the enemy your words become: spiritual arrows. Proverbs 18:21 says it plainly: death and life are in the power of the tongue. But on these 2 days, that power isn't just active, it's amplified. Every word you speak, every reaction you have, every emotion you allow to guide you becomes a tuning fork that either aligns you with heaven's frequency or pulls you into chaos. Let me ask you something, and I want you to feel this in your chest. What if the argument you're about to have on November 16th isn't just an argument? What if it's a spiritual crossroads disguised as a bad day? You see, the enemy doesn't need to destroy you with some grand temptation. He just needs you distracted, angry, offended, reactive. Because when the veil is thin and your emotions are running hot, your reactions don't just affect your mood, they decide your alignment. James 1:20 warns us, "The anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God." But here's what most miss when spiritual pressure intensifies. Anger doesn't just grieve the spirit, it reroutes your blessing. It sends what God prepared for you to someone else who stayed calm, who stayed aligned, who refused to take the bait. And the enemy knows this. He's been studying you. He knows exactly what button to push. That family member who always gets under your skin, expect them to say something cutting on the 16th. That co-worker who undermines you, they'll do it again on the 17th. That financial pressure that makes you want to panic and make a rash decision, it'll peak right in this window. This isn't coincidence. This is strategy. Look at what happened to Moses. One moment of frustration, one strike of the rock in anger, instead of obedience, and 40 years of faithful leadership couldn't erase it. Numbers 20:12. Because you did not believe in me, to uphold me as holy in the eyes of the people of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land that I have given them. One reaction, one moment, one mistake when the pressure was high. Moses still loved God. He still had a calling, but he lost the fullness of what was prepared. Do you hear what I'm saying? The smallest argument can reroute your blessing. The pettiest offense you refuse to let go can delay what's been scheduled to arrive. Because on November 16th and 17th, your emotions aren't just feelings, they're frequency signals broadcasting to the spiritual realm, whether you're ready for what's next or not. Here's the truth that'll shake you. God has been preparing something massive for you, something that requires a higher version of you to steward it. And these 2 days, they're the final test before the release. Think of it like this: you're standing at the airport. Your flight to destiny is boarding, but TSA isn't checking your bags, they're checking your spirit. Can you stay calm under provocation? Can you bless when you want to curse? Can you stay silent when you want to defend yourself? Psalm 37:7 instructs us, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices." Be still, wait patiently, don't react. But here's where it gets even deeper. The veil isn't just thin for you, it's thin for everyone around you. Which means the people in your life are also operating under amplified spiritual pressure. They're more sensitive, more triggered, more reactive. And if you're not careful, you'll get pulled into their storm and lose your blessing. You cannot control what they do, but you can control what you do. 2 Timothy 2:24 tells us, "The Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome but kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil." Patiently enduring evil, not ignoring it, not being passive, but enduring it with patience because you know something they don't. This is temporary pressure, testing your eternal positioning. So let me paint you a picture of what's at stake. On November 16th, someone says something that cuts deep. You have two choices: react, defend yourself, argue back, let the anger rise and the frequency shifts. The blessing that was scheduled to land on the 18th gets rerouted, not because God stopped loving you, but because you disqualified yourself through misalignment. Or you stay silent, you breathe, you pray under your breath. Lord, I submit this to you. And in that moment, angels take note. The test is passed. The door stays open. The blessing flows. It sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing you'll ever do, because everything in your flesh will scream, defend yourself. Don't let them disrespect you. But Proverbs 15:1 reminds us, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. On these 2 days, your soft answer isn't just wise, it's prophetic. It declares that you trust God more than you trust your ability to fight back. And here's the mystery most never understand. When you refuse to fight in the natural, heaven fights for you in the supernatural. Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. So here's my question for you, chosen one. Are you ready to be silent when everything in you wants to scream? Are you ready to bless when you want to curse? Are you ready to stay aligned when the pressure is designed to pull you off course? Because what happens on November 16th and 17th will echo into 2025 and beyond. But there's something else you need to know. Something the enemy is counting on you, ignoring. And if you miss this next part, none of what I just said will matter. What is the one thing, the one specific action that will sabotage everything? Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to give you isn't theory. This is battlefield strategy for November 16th and 17th. You've been walking with God long enough to know this truth. The closer you get to breakthrough, the fiercer the attack. And the enemy doesn't come at you with horns and a pitchfork. He comes through your daughter-in-law's sharp comment at Sunday dinner, through your son who suddenly needs to talk about money on the 16th, through that neighbor who's been quiet for months, but will find you on the 17th with old gossip dressed up as concern. The trap is always the same: provocation disguised as conversation. Let me paint you a picture. You're standing in your kitchen on November 16th, morning light coming through the window. Your phone rings. It's someone from your past, maybe family, maybe not, and within 2 minutes they say that one thing. You know the thing that's designed to pull you out of peace and into defense mode. And here's where 90% of God's people lose their blessing. They respond. Proverbs 26:4 says it plain: "Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself." You think you're defending truth. You think you're setting the record straight. But spiritually, you just stepped off the altar and into the mud, and the breakthrough that was 3 feet away, it just got rerouted. So here's your first instruction, and I need you to write this on your heart. Stay silent in provocation. Silence is not weakness, beloved. Silence is your shield. When Jesus stood before Pilate, accused of crimes he never committed, what did he do? Isaiah 53:7 tells us, "He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth." The Son of God, who could have called down legions of angels, chose silence because he knew something you need to know right now. Your silence in the face of accusation is louder than any defense you could ever craft. On November 16th and 17th, someone is going to try to pull you into an argument, a debate, a clearing the air conversation that's really just bait. And your job is simple: don't bite. Nod, smile if you have to, Say, "I hear you," and walk away. Because every word you don't speak is a brick in the fortress God is building around your next season. Here's your second instruction. Guard your words like they're coated in gold. Proverbs 18:21 doesn't stutter. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Not death or life. Death and life, both. Simultaneously available. And on these 2 days, your tongue is either a weapon of blessing or a grenade of destruction. So before you speak about anything, to anyone, ask yourself, does this build up or tear down? Does this bring peace or division? If the answer isn't crystal clear, close your mouth. That text message you're thinking about sending on the 17th, the one where you finally tell your sister how you really feel, don't. That phone call to your grown son, where you're going to lovingly correct his choices, wait. That comment on social media, where you're going to set someone straight about politics or doctrine, scroll past. Ephesians 4:29 is your filter. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. If it doesn't give grace, it doesn't leave your lips. Now here's the hard one, and I feel the Holy Spirit pressing on this. Walk away when tension rises. You've lived long enough to recognize the smell of a fight before it starts. The air changes, the tone shifts. Someone's voice gets a little sharper, a little louder, and your flesh wants to stay. Your pride says, "I'm not backing down." But Proverbs 17:14 warns you, the beginning of strife is like letting out water, so quit before the quarrel breaks out. Notice it says quit before. Not during, not after, before. That means you leave the room while you still have peace. You end the call while your voice is still steady. You say, "I think we should talk about this another time," and you mean it. Because here's what the enemy knows that you're about to learn. God cannot pour new wine into a vessel that's shaking with rage. Your fourth instruction. Pray before you respond to anything. James 1:19 gives you the formula. Let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. Slow means pause, slow means breathe. Slow means, Lord, what do you want me to say here? Or do you want me to say nothing at all? On November 16th and 17th, make this your practice. When someone says something that stings, don't react. Pray first. Even if it's just 10 seconds. Even if it's just, "Jesus, help me." That gap between stimulus and response, that's where miracles live. Fifth, do not revisit old wounds. This is where the enemy is most cunning. He'll bring up something from 2019, from 2003. From your first marriage, your late spouse, your estranged sibling, and he'll make it feel urgent, like it needs to be addressed right now. It doesn't. Philippians 3:13 is your anchor, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead. If God already healed it, don't dig it back up. If God already closed that chapter, don't reopen the book. The past is a trap on these 2 days. And finally, avoid serious conversations on November 16th and 17th altogether. This is not the weekend to discuss inheritance. It's not the time to address family dysfunction. It's not the moment to have the talk about your health, your will, or your concerns about someone's life choices. Ecclesiastes 3-7 reminds you, there is a time to keep silence and a time to speak. These 2 days, this is your time to keep silence. If someone pushes, say, "I'd love to talk about this next week." Let's set a time, and then keep your peace. Now, if you're hearing me, if you're choosing peace over reaction on November 16th and 17th, I need you to do something right now. Type in the comments, "I choose stillness," because when you declare it, you activate it, and when you activate it, heaven moves. So here's my question for you, chosen one. Will you trust God enough to stay silent when everything in you wants to speak? Will you believe that your obedience in these 48 hours is worth more than 6 months of striving? Because what's coming after the 17th will prove that every word you didn't say was a seed planted in eternal soil. You thought the danger was the conflict that comes before the 17th. No, the real trap comes after you think you passed. Listen closely, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you is something most believers never see coming. It's the reason why miracles collapse, why breakthroughs evaporate, why people who walked through fire suddenly lose everything in the silence that follows. There is a shadow that follows the shadow. The second test. Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen on November 17th, maybe making coffee, maybe looking out your window at the streets of New York or wherever God has planted you. The hard part is over. You protected your peace on the 16th. You didn't react. You didn't engage with the chaos. You passed the first test. And then something small happens. A phone call, a memory, a comment from someone you love. Something so subtle, so seemingly harmless, that you don't even recognize it as warfare. But that's the second door. Imagine walking through a door in your home, one you've walked through 1,000 times, and suddenly another door appears behind it. A door you never noticed. A door that wasn't there yesterday. That's what November 16th and 17th are. A spiritual threshold with layers most people never discern. The enemy doesn't just attack once. He waits. He watches you survive the storm. And then, in the hallway between your victory and your blessing, he strikes again. How many times has this happened in your life already? Be honest with yourself right now. How many times did peace fall apart right after you thought everything was finally getting better? You got the job then, the diagnosis came. You reconciled with your child then, the argument erupted. You finally felt hope, then the bill arrived. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. The Bible tells us in 1 Peter 5-8, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." But here's what they don't preach. The lion doesn't just attack when you're weak. He attacks when you think you're safe. Look at Job. God allowed the first wave of devastation. Job held firm, but Satan came back. He came back with a second wave, the loss of his health, the accusations of his friends, the silence of heaven itself. The second test was designed to break what the first test couldn't touch, Job's integrity. Look at Jesus in the wilderness, Matthew 4. The devil tempted him 3 times, and then watch this closely. Verse 11 says the devil departed from him for a season, not forever, for a season, meaning he was coming back. Meaning the victory was real, but the war wasn't over. That's where most believers lose. In the season between tests. You survive the earthquake, but you don't survive the aftershock. You dodge the punch, but you don't see the second fist coming from the blind side. November 16th and 17th are seismic. The pressure is real. The attacks will be obvious to those who are awake. But here's the warning inside the warning. There is a moment, a fleeting, almost invisible moment between the 16th and 17th where something will try to provoke you. It might be 11:47 p.m. on the 16th. It might be 2:13 a.m. on the 17th when you can't sleep and your mind starts replaying old wounds. It might be in a conversation that feels normal but carries spiritual venom underneath. And if you miss this, if you react, if you engage, if you open your mouth when God said be still, you will undo what you protected all day long. Think about Samson. He defeated 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey. Judges 15. That was his victory. That was his breakthrough. But what happened after? Delilah, the second trap. The one that felt like love. The one that didn't look like warfare. And he lost everything, his strength, his eyes, his freedom, not in battle, but in the quiet room where he thought he was finally safe. You see, the enemy studies you. He knows your breaking point isn't always in the storm. Sometimes it's in the silence. Sometimes it's in the relief. Sometimes it's when your guard drops because you finally exhaled. That's the shadow after the shadow. And God is testing something deeper on November 16th and 17th. He's not just testing if you can survive the attack. He's testing if you can discern the second attack, if you can stay awake, if you can remain vigilant even after the obvious danger passes. Ephesians 6:13 says, "And having done all, to stand, not having done some, not having survived the first wave, all. Stand after the battle, stand in the silence, stand when it looks like peace, but your spirit still feels tension. Because chosen one, what's coming for you after November 17th is so powerful, so precisely aligned with God's purpose for your life, that the enemy is willing to deploy every weapon to stop it. And his most effective weapon isn't the loud one, it's the quiet one. The one that slips through the crack when you're tired, when you're relieved, when you think you already won. So here's what I need you to understand with every fiber of your being. The test on November 16th is endurance, but the test on November 17th is discernment. Can you feel the shift even when nothing visible has changed? Can you sense the second door even when it's camouflaged as normalcy? Can you resist the bait even when it's wrapped in familiar packaging? Most won't. Most will celebrate too early. Most will drop their guard at 1 a.m. on the 17th and never realize they walked straight into the second ambush. But not you. Not if you're still here. Not if your spirit is burning right now with holy alertness. Because God didn't bring you this far to lose you in the hallway between your deliverance and your destiny. So I'm asking you, are you ready to face the shadow after the shadow? Now we cross into territory most preachers won't touch. Because November 16th and 17th aren't just about what happens around you, they're about what happens inside you, in the 3 a.m. silence, in the moments between breaths when no one else is watching. The second mistake, and listen closely, the second mistake is not the argument with your neighbor, not the conflict at church, not the drama with family. It's the argument with yourself. Some of you right now, you're nodding. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've lived 60 years, 70 years, 80 years. And still, you're fighting thoughts you cannot explain. Thoughts that show up uninvited, like strangers at your door. Maybe you're too old now. Maybe God forgot about you. Maybe all the good things in life were meant for other people. You hear that voice, don't you? It sounds like you. It uses your tone, your inflection, your doubts. And that's the genius of the enemy's strategy. He whispers in your own voice. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, we must take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ, every single thought. Because if you don't capture it, it captures you. And here's what's happening right now, in this season, as we approach November 16th and 17th. Old wounds are waking up. You thought you buried that pain from 1978. You thought you healed from that betrayal in 1995. You thought you forgave that person who walked out on you when you needed them most. But the enemy knows something about spiritual thresholds. He knows that when God is about to do something new, he resurrects something old. Not to destroy you, but to distract you. To make you look backward when God is pulling you forward. Your mind becomes a battlefield. And on that battlefield, ghosts walk the hallways of your memory. The voice of your father, who said you'd never amount to anything. The echo of a marriage that crumbled, and you still don't know if it was your fault. The regret of dreams you never chased, because you were too afraid, too responsible, too old. Do you feel it right now? That tightness in your chest, that's not coincidence. That's recognition. Your spirit is saying, yes, that's me, that's my war. But here's the part that will shake you. Your biggest enemy on November 16th and 17th will not be them. It will be the voice inside you. Because while you're battling your own thoughts, while you're wrestling with regret and shame and what-ifs, God is trying to hand you something. Something you've prayed for. Something you've cried for. Something that's been delayed, not because you weren't worthy, but because you weren't ready. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. You want to know why your blessing keeps slipping through your fingers? Check your inner voice. Check the conversation you're having with yourself when no one's listening. I'm too tired. I'm too broken. I missed my chance. That's not prophecy. That's poison. And on November 16th and 17th, when the heavens are aligned and the spiritual doors are cracking open, that voice will scream louder than it ever has. It will tell you to quit, to settle, to accept that this is as good as it gets. You know what happened to the children of Israel? They stood at the edge of the promised land. The edge, and 10 spies came back saying, "We can't do it. We're like grasshoppers in our own sight." Numbers 13:33. Read it yourself. They defeated themselves before the battle even started. Not because the enemy was stronger, but because their inner voice was louder than God's promise. And 40 years later, a whole generation died in the wilderness. Not because God abandoned them, but because they abandoned themselves. I need you to hear me. If you lose the battle in your mind on November 16th and 17th, you lose the war. You can have all the faith in the world, but if you don't silence that inner critic, if you don't rebuke that spirit of defeat, you will walk away from your own breakthrough. Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things." Not on your age, not on your failures, not on who left you or what you lost. Meditate on these things, because the battle for your future is happening right now in the war room of your mind. And every negative thought you entertain on those 2 days is a vote against what God is trying to birth through you. Some of you are hearing this and tears are already forming, because you know you've been your own worst enemy. You know you've sabotaged yourself more than anyone else ever could. But here's the mercy in this message. You still have time. November 16th and 17th haven't happened yet. You're hearing this now, not by accident, but by divine appointment. God is giving you advance notice. He's saying, get your mind right. Get your thoughts aligned, because I'm about to move, and I need you mentally and spiritually ready. So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, even if it's just in your heart. What is the one thought, the one lie you've been believing about yourself that's keeping you small? What is the voice in your head telling you that contradicts what God has already said about you? Because if you can identify it now, you can defeat it then. And when November 16th and 17th arrive, you won't be fighting ghosts. You'll be walking into your promise with a clear mind, a renewed spirit, and a voice inside you that finally sounds like heaven instead of hell. But there's still one more mistake, one more trap. And this one is the most dangerous of all, because it doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like wisdom. Listen to me carefully. If you want to know the spiritual condition of your heart, the true state of where you stand with God right now, don't look at your prayer list. Don't look at how many services you've attended. Look at the version of you that shows up in silence, when the house is empty, when the phone stops ringing, when it's just you and the hum of the refrigerator at 2 in the morning. That version, that's the one God sees. And on November 16th and 17th, the Holy Spirit is going to hold up a mirror, not to shame you, not to condemn you, but to reveal you. This is not a gentle moment. This is a divine confrontation. You see, most of us spend our entire lives avoiding mirrors. We avoid the bathroom mirror because we don't like what's aging. We avoid the financial mirror because the numbers hurt. We avoid the relational mirror because we're afraid of what's broken. But God's mirror? His mirror doesn't show your age. It shows your assignment. It shows the real you. The one He's been preparing through decades of storms you thought were punishments. The one He's been refining in kitchens where you cried alone, in hospital waiting rooms where you bargained with heaven, in empty bedrooms where you wondered if anyone remembered your name. Proverbs 27:19 says, "As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart." Your life right now, the one you're living in this exact moment, is a reflection of what's been brewing in your heart for years. And God is about to show you something you've been too afraid to see. You think you wasted years. Maybe you believe the lies that say you're too old now, that your season passed, that God moved on to younger, sharper, more talented people. But God counts time differently than we do. 2 Peter 3-8 reminds us that with the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. What you call wasted, He calls preparation. What you call failure, He calls foundation. That job you lost in your 50s, that was God closing a door because the assignment He's prepared requires you to be free. That marriage that fell apart, that was God removing someone who would have sabotaged the next chapter. That diagnosis that knocked you to your knees, that was God positioning you to speak to others walking through the same valley. You've cried in kitchens no one ever saw. You've carried burdens your own children don't know about. You've smiled at church while your soul was hemorrhaging, and you thought God wasn't watching. But Psalm 56-8 says, He's kept track of every tear. He's collected them in a bottle. He's recorded every one in His book. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been forgotten. And on these 2 days, November 16th and 17th, He's going to show you why it all mattered. But here's what's going to shock you. The mirror will show you something else, something most believers are not prepared to see. It will show you the person you were always meant to become, not the broken version, not the tired version, the glorified version, the one heaven has been waiting for. And when you see it, when you catch even a glimpse of who God created you to be before the world beat you down, you're going to have to make a choice. Because seeing your true self is not the same as becoming your true self. There's a gap between revelation and manifestation. And that gap, that's where the mistake happens. That's where 90% of God's people lose everything He's prepared. They see the vision, they feel the anointing, they sense the shift, and then they do the one thing that sabotages it all. They rush. They try to force the door open before God turns the key. They start making phone calls, sending emails, announcing things that are still in the incubation stage. They treat the mirror moment like a starting gun instead of a sacred pause. Jesus knew this. After His baptism, after the heavens opened and God declared, "This is my beloved Son," where did the Spirit lead Him? Into the wilderness. 40 days and 40 nights of silence, testing and preparation. Matthew 4:1-2. He didn't run to the temple and start preaching. He didn't gather disciples immediately. He waited. He faced the enemy. He clarified His mission. And you, chosen one, are being led into your own wilderness moment on November 16th and 17th. This is not punishment. This is precision. God is isolating you from the noise so He can finalize something inside you. He's cutting off distractions, removing false voices, and positioning you in a spiritual pressure chamber where the old you cannot survive and the new you must emerge. But if you misread this moment, if you panic, if you doubt, if you run back to what's familiar instead of standing still in the discomfort, you will step out of alignment. And when you step out of alignment during a divine setup, you don't just delay the blessing, you disqualify yourself from that specific window of opportunity. I need you to hear me. God doesn't operate on your timeline. He operates on divine timing. And when His timing intersects with human readiness, miracles happen. But when human impatience collides with divine timing, chaos, confusion, collapse. You've been through too much to collapse now. You've survived too many nights, buried too many loved ones, endured too many betrayals to fumble the ball at the 1-yard line. This is your moment. But it requires something from you that most people are unwilling to give. Stillness. Not passivity, not laziness, sacred stillness. The kind that says, God, I see the door. I feel the urgency, but I will not move until you say move. Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. So here's the question you need to ask yourself right now, before we go any deeper. Can you stand in the mirror and face what God is about to reveal? Can you handle seeing the truth about where you've been, who you are, and where you're going? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you know it, you're responsible for it. The mirror is coming, and what you do in that moment will determine whether you step into the greatest season of your life or watch it pass you by. Are you ready? Chosen one, we've walked a sacred path together today. Let me remind you of what matters most. November 16th and 17th are not days to fear, they are days to honor. These are the days God has marked on his calendar to finalize what he's been building in secret. One mistake, rushing ahead, speaking too soon, or doubting in the silence, can undo months of divine preparation. But one moment of obedience, one act of sacred stillness, can unlock everything heaven has been holding for you. Remember this: the mirror God holds up is not meant to condemn you. It's meant to reveal the truth of who you've always been in his eyes. You are not too old. You are not too broken. You are not forgotten. Every tear you've cried, every storm you've weathered, every night you've spent awake wondering if God still sees you, it has all been preparation for this moment. And I need you to know something else. You are not alone in this. You are not walking this path by yourself. There is a community right here, thousands of people watching this video, reading these words, feeling the same weight, the same call, the same holy urgency. We are praying with you. We are standing with you. And most importantly, God is still working in your life. Even when you can't see it, even when it feels like nothing is moving, he is orchestrating, aligning, and preparing. So let me ask you this: what will you do on November 16th and 17th? Will you trust the process, or will you panic? Will you stand still in faith, or will you run ahead in fear? Your answer to that question will determine whether you step into the fullness of what God has prepared or watch it pass you by. Before we close, I want to pray over you. And I want you to receive this prayer not as words on a screen, but as the hand of God himself resting on your shoulder. Let us pray. Father God, I come before you right now on behalf of every person who has watched this message. Lord, you know their name, you know their address. You know the weight they've been carrying, the tears they've cried in secret, the battles they've fought that no one else has seen. I pray that on November 16th and 17th, you would cover them with divine protection. Silence every voice of doubt, fear, and confusion. Remove every distraction that would pull them away from your presence. Give them the strength to stand still when everything in them wants to run. Give them the courage to trust you when nothing makes sense. Lord, I ask that you would open their spiritual eyes. Let them see themselves the way you see them, not broken, but being made whole, not forgotten, but marked for greatness. Not too late, but right on time. Let them see the assignment you've been preparing them for through every storm, every loss, every lonely night. Father, I pray for provision. I pray for healing. I pray for restoration. I pray for divine connections, open doors, and supernatural favor. Let the heavens open over their lives. Let the blessings you've been holding break through like a flood. And Lord, if there is anyone watching this who feels like giving up, who feels like the wait has been too long, the pain has been too much, the road has been too hard, I ask that you would breathe fresh hope into their spirit right now. Remind them that you are not finished. Remind them that the best is still ahead. Remind them that their latter days will be greater than their former days. We seal this prayer in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. Type Amen in the comments if this message spoke to your spirit. Tell me what God revealed to you today. What are you trusting him for on November 16th and 17th? Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Don't keep this to yourself. Share it. Encourage someone else who's walking the same road. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's been struggling, someone who's been waiting, someone who's been wondering if God still has a plan for their life, share this video with them. Send it to them right now. Remind them that they are not alone. Remind them that God is still working. Remind them that their breakthrough is closer than they think. If this is your first time here, welcome. You didn't find this channel by accident. God led you here. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a message that was meant for you. This is not just content. This is a community of believers who are choosing to trust God even when it's hard. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me 60 minutes of your time. Thank you for opening your heart, for listening, for believing that God still has more for you. I don't take that lightly. You could have been anywhere else, but you were here. That tells me something. It tells me you're serious about your walk with God. It tells me you're ready for what's next. So stand firm, stay alert, trust the process. And remember, the mirror God is holding up is not meant to break you, it's meant to reveal the glory He's been building inside you all along. I'll see you in the next message. Until then, may the peace of God that surpasses all understanding guard your heart and mind. May His favor surround you like a shield, and may His presence go before you, preparing the way for everything He's promised. You are loved, you are seen, you are chosen. God bless you.